Let's fix you, shall we?
It's on my pocket. I'm stabbing myself now. Look at my fingers. By the way, for like any of these questions, just so I don't like over talk, if there's something you want to know more of, just like
You're good.
I'm not afraid to talk about anything. I'll dive into depth on whatever I can legally talk about.
Okay.
Just want to know more, just ask it.
All right, bet. That's great.
I broke this chair.
I think I did it. Ooh, okay, we did it. Alrighty. I'll lower this music real quick. I've never actually paid attention to the music that I use for the podcast. I listen to it once and then it's like, all right, I'll just have it for background. That sounds nice.
That's all you really need, though.
Yeah, it's like this vibey, and it's worked so far. So, all right, well, I think we're set. Everybody, welcome in to episode number 6 of season 1 of the Unmotivated podcast. Today, I have the pleasure to have this human being that I kind of tried to reach out before. He shut me down, and then he finally, made up his mind, and I'm happy enough to have him today as my guest. We're gonna be exploring the ins and outs, the story, the rise, the fall, and the rise again, hopefully. Listen, I'm just saying that for comedic value. I don't think you've gone anywhere, like you still got it, man. You have that entertainer in you, dude.
Yeah, but like I got lazy, so I screwed a lot of things up. Yeah. And
I think that's very important as far as uncovering kind of like the story of content creators, because you know what, it can happen. It happens to a lot of people. But the important thing is always continuing to, push on and find that motivation to get things done, and that consistency and that grind back again, which I think is very brave, because in our brief conversations for a while, it seemed like, just kind of the book was kind of gone, like the spark kind of like gone out, and then all of a sudden for the past like week or week and a half that we've been talking again, you definitely have that on right now, and you definitely have that itch to grind. So very cool. So without further ado, I give you guys RLaw. You guys might know him as Rob as well. So it's a Rob on Raw podcast today. And yeah, we're going to be exploring that, exactly that. So as I mentioned before, I did say the rise, the fall, and the rise again. I want you to go more in depth about it. Let's let us know who you are. Who's Rob? Before we actually get into that, who's Rob? Who's RLaw?
So currently I'm a 25-year-old gaming entrepreneur, talent manager. I think I've spent the majority of my adult life in the esports industry. When I was 18 years old, I actually got signed as a pro player, which is where I got my start. If you know my name or have heard me, it's probably from PUBG or FaZe Clan, because when I first started out, I used to hide in this exact room. It didn't start here. It actually started in a duplex, shitty little duplex that I shared with my dad. Parents went through an ugly divorce. I had the wonderful pleasure of having 4 siblings. And I think that's kind of where my story really starts. But we can dive into that when we get to some questions and stuff. But esports became my future at 18. I've been doing video games, YouTube, fisheye landscape videos since I was a kid. It all started way back. It's always been my passion. And I think, like you said, you noticed a week and a half ago, I found that passion again, which is why I'm kind of back in this seat, because I had risen to the top of Call of Duty. I had become one of the household names. I worked at the franchise. I did everything you could have dreamed of. I was flying to Cali. I was on a trip every week. And then I let like relationships and other people become a priority that shouldn't have been. And I stopped making decisions that were better for me and decisions that were better for an organization or a company. And I put them first. And then, as you can see, the fall, they just throw you out. So that's what we're bouncing back from. That's what this is going to tell you. You're going to find out more about that here talking to me now. Rob on Rob action, like you said.
Yeah. You know what? I always try to give a little bit of my own background to my guests. I I have experience as a content creator outside of the COD scene. I am a photographer. I don't know if you knew that. I actually am a portrait photographer. I've been doing it for 7 years, and it's more targeted towards my local market, which is a little bit smaller. But nonetheless, I understand the ins and outs of staying consistent throughout content creation and the benefits that you can acquire from content creating, and staying consistent and staying motivated. So definitely
Yeah.
understand what you mean by getting like letting the wrong people kind of take the priority instead of you being the focus. Then again, you are your product, and
Yeah.
once you stop being the product, and once you stop
Mhm.
trying to sell that as a product, it's over because it starts feeling like a job. And I think that's the beauty of this. It's
Yeah.
that you don't have the burden of it feeling like a job because you enjoy it so much that it's a part of it's a part of your own being, like if I want to market myself as an entertainer and I want to go out there and make a living out of this, maybe, or do it full time, for example, which is kind of like the whole goal for this podcast. We are talking to smaller creators that kind of are in that grind to get there, like myself. You need that. You can't let other people take decisions for you, because you are your product and you're the only one that can enforce that to your audience, and your audience is also there for you. So I think it's pretty. I think we're in for an interesting episode. There's a lot we can get out of that. Also, the part that you've done talent managing before, which I think is pretty cool. Because I don't know how that works in the esports world, actually. So I'm very curious. I might have some questions off of that. But let's go more in depth about your story. So let's go about that. How did RLaw, like you started playing video games probably at a young age, like most of us. But give me more of these. You had four siblings, you said, right?
Yeah.
So 4 siblings, and then how did that start? Like, what's the first game that you fell in love with? When did the content creation grind kind of start?
All right, so I fell in love with video games. For some reason, I can remember that specific memory from when I was really young. The first house I ever remember living in. What I remember is it was the Nintendo. Nintendo. My brother was in the other room. I can remember exactly what my room looks like just because of it. I had a jungle-themed, beautiful, huge room painted like monkeys on the wall. It was like I lived in a jungle. My mom was very talented at that. My brother's room across the hall, I can remember running into it and playing. It was some kind of Yoshi's Island game or something, but on the original Nintendo, so it was way back. And that wasn't like what made me fall in love with it, but I enjoyed it. I think it was, and also like a game like Rayman or something. I think that's like something like that. But that's not where I fell in love with it. Where I fell in love with it was my brother would get stuck with babysitting duty, and that was like the biggest thing he hated. But he'd always get stuck with me, and he loved me. But what that meant was, okay, I've got to watch Rob this weekend, but I'm throwing a party. And when he throws parties, ironically enough, it's like, you think of like modern day parties, drinking, all the like, whatever's happening, and then everyone's like on their social medias doing like dumb TikTok stuff or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Back then it wasn't that. Back then it was he had a 150-foot Ethernet connecting cord running from one Xbox upstairs all the way to the basement one. People drinking, partying, and everything everywhere. And then me downstairs as like this really young kid taking wagers and beating drunk people on Halo. And that's is
pretty
where I
fucking cool.
fell in love with it.
That's pretty.
It was awesome.
Cool. You were groomed with that competitive mindset. You had to.
I was hustling from the rip. That's why I went pro. It was literally. I knew too, and I was taking advantage of everyone because everyone was so drunk, and I'm just this little kid with the crazy reflexes, and it's Halo, and I loved shooting games, and that's why like I still think Halo 1 and 2 the greatest shooter ever. Right. I don't think anything's better than it. Call of Duty wise, I think Modern Warfare 2 is the best. But
I agree with you.
Game wise,
Halo. You know what? I never had experience with Halo. I was late into the whole console games. When I had my first console was a Super Nintendo. I played a few games on it. I can't like recall off the top of my mind. And then the GameCube was the first console that really kind of like I got into, like the Metroid Prime series, Mario Strikers, Mario Kart Double Dash,
Strikers.
Smash. Yeah.
Yes.
And from there, we went to the Wii on that generation, but we never got the PlayStation or the Xbox. And then when I was in It was in 2009, I believe. Modern Warfare 2 had just come out. Or it was, no, sorry. Yeah, 2009. Modern Warfare 2 had
2009, you're
just
right,
come
yeah.
out. And I traded in, I was into paintball at the time. And I traded in some of my paintball stuff for an Xbox. And from there it was over. So as you know, I'm from Panama, which we speak Spanish here. And I credit the fact that I speak English this well as my second language because of MW2 lobbies, because I would speak to people and curse people
Those
out and just
lobbies were
learn.
the
Oh, I
worst.
swear. The worst and the best, because I had some of the
Society
most
couldn't
fun I've
handle
ever
those.
had. Oh, I know.
Society today could not handle a Modern Warfare 2 lobby.
No, no. Um,
Ugh.
Times have also changed, to be completely honest, because like if some of the stuff I said back in the day came out today, no one would have to do anything with me.
Yeah, but see, like that's what I'm saying. I don't really think a lot of the stuff we said back in the day is. I mean, actually, I don't know what you said, but like, I never said anything racist or homophobic. Like that's where I always think the line will be drawn. I always think that's something like that should never be said. But there are a lot of insults and stuff that I
Yeah.
said way back then that I totally think should be okay. Like or like not okay, but like not cancel worthy.
Yeah,
I think cancel
no, I
culture is
understand.
pretty like this atrocious thing.
I
Like,
think,
yeah, you have the right to not want to associate with me if I say something that you don't like to
yeah,
hear.
yeah,
But like, you shouldn't have the ability to somehow rip this entire life I spent 20 years of work for
right.
because of a sentence you got upset
I
about.
think I think it's more a thing of educational awareness nowadays. Like there are just certain groups, like back then, for example, I'm not talking about like we were precisely homophobic, but society as a whole maybe was more accepting or naive towards homophobia, and today it's not like that. So it's like there's more awareness. So like back then we would like, I don't know, we would call people some homophobic things, but not necessarily as a not necessarily like meaning to hurt them as if they were less, because we didn't know better. But now, for example, we do. I just realized I have a little mistake on this. I need to get rid of that. Oh my god. Oh my god.
You have the wrong at.
I have the wrong
something.
ad. I just realized that. That is crazy.
Did you see Dre's name?
Yeah, that is insane. I'm gonna have to edit that in.
Bro, I love Dre.
Dre is great. Dre is the funniest dude I've ever fucking met. He's hilarious.
I love him.
I just realized that. That is on me.
Dude, you're good. I'm not.
I'll fix that afterwards for the YouTube version. All right, so so you started playing Halo. When did the content creation start? Because for me, I fell so in love with MW2. I've been subscribed to the Face Clan channel since 2010, and they made me beg my dad for a year to scour how the heck he was gonna find a HD PVR in this country, because back then purchasing online from Panama wasn't as easy as it is today. But like I made him scour the internet for an HD PVR, and God knows how much he spent on it, because I remember it was not cheap. It was like $250 or something like back then. Yeah, and then he got me an HD PVR for my birthday, and that is how I never did anything with it, but I actually broke it. But that's how it started for me, you know, like with the whole face thing, the whole trick shot thing. That's how it started for me. But from playing Halo, hustling out your brother's friends, how did you get into, you know, this actual thing you're doing today? If back then, if not when you actually started. Or for example, I had Moosey, which you should know from the PUBG scene. Well, no, he was an H1Z1, but
I was an H1 as well. I've been in all those scenes.
So Moosey was my first guest, and he also came from the competitive BR scene back in the day. And his content creation journey started from like a transition. It was like from pro play. It was like, okay, I'm old. I'm kind of getting washed. Like, I don't want to do this again. The game kind of died out. I don't want to move on to the next thing. And streaming was kind of there for him. So like, how did that happen for you?
Okay, so we have to start with the HD PVR then, because just like you, I'm on the same page. I actually have a friend. His name's Robbie as well. We grew up together. He was really smart with it, but I wasn't. He was like kind of like the camera guy, like you. Like he knew exactly what I have a nice camera. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what I have to do. I have to watch a YouTube video before I can even use it. Like, he would know that stuff. And we used to skateboard, and he would just set up a camera and give it to me, and I would just skate behind him, following
Yep.
him with like a fisheye lens. And that's where we started on YouTube, like the original YouTube, when you could have your logos on the side and
Yeah.
you could design in like web map or whatever your link up top on your banner, so people could actually click like the word Twitter and it'd bring you to somewhere else. Like we had it all, dude. And I had a 100K Minecraft channel at one point. Like, I've been everywhere in this YouTube world for 15 plus years. So, but it started with the skateboard videos, and I think he ended up getting like 5,000 subscribers when 5,000 would be like 5 million. Like, it was that was a huge deal back then, and we were rocking shit, and it was Rob and Rob, and I got bored of it because it wasn't my thing. Or I had an accident while skateboarding that traumatized me, and it just wasn't like I couldn't enjoy it as much.
Right.
A friend pushed me off one of like the 9-foot drops or whatever it was, and that was just
You weren't ready.
I wasn't. I was standing on the edge, trying to give me the confidence, and it was traumatized me. So I switched to Call of Duty because like I wasn't skateboarding. So what was I doing? I was just playing video games, and I think I spent like 54 days played on Modern Warfare 2 is what my like time was in literally a one summer period. And I don't know how I did it. It was the craziest thing ever, and it was just wild. I did that on Modern Warfare 2, and halfway through the time, I was privileged. I can't say I wasn't. My dad owns his own company, so growing up, if I kind of wanted something, I could just ask for it. But the thing with me was I never asked for stuff. So when I did ask for it, it'd be like, okay, Rob, what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, HD PVR. That was my one special item. I got it because I didn't ask for anything else the rest of the year. But my sisters who lived with me asked for everything 24/7. Right. So it was kind of just like, oh, Rob's asking for something finally. Holy, let's give it to him. Yeah. So I got my HD PVR, and I was actually like one of the original names in the Call of Duty trick shotting scene. I've been friends with all the guys you probably looked up to, talked to, or wanted to talk to. I've known since they were just, little kids in their mom's house yelling at a video game. I've known these guys since we were all spinning. I'm in half these original videos with a different name, or Supra. I was the leader of that. I still have the YouTube channel. My personal channel is like a 23K YouTube clan that I made way back. I've been in FaZe. I was a manager for Obey at one point. Like FaZe Agony, I lived in the FaZe house. Right. Like I've done everything for that. But I started way back with all those guys. So I kind of think my whole thing was, and where I messed up was I stayed behind the scenes for too long, helping other people and doing the manager stuff. Long term though, career wise, I can be a talent manager, work with companies like that, and I'll probably always set up a career potential. Whereas like YouTube, I fell off. Right now, what was happening? I had nothing. I had my talent management thing keeping me afloat. So it's like when YouTube doesn't work and streaming doesn't work, that's my realistic thing that I turned out because of this. But it started with an HD PVR and doing trick shot stuff, but I wasn't as crazy as other people were. And rather than practice, I was really good at selling and making other people blow up. So that's what I switched to. So I was like a YouTube manager, or a Call of Duty clan leader, when that basically like a CEO of a trick shot clan is how it was.
Fun story. I tried out to Supra in 2012. They did like a recruitment channel. They did a recruitment challenge, and I posted some clips on it, and it went horribly, but I still did it. It was horrible. It was pretty
even
bad.
If it was horrible, the best part about those things is it like helps you get some kind of
exposure. 100%. Even if it's terrible, it's like, listen, if you get 10 horrible comments, but you had no comments in your other videos, at least you got 10 comments now. So
the 10 horrible comments are sometimes make it perform better than your other video did.
That's what I'm saying. So
hate helps.
I enjoyed it. It was fun, and then I actually sold my HD PVR the year after because I got into some other stuff in real life. But yeah, that's fun. I don't quite remember. Like I know I tried out for Supra. That's fun. That's actually fun. I didn't know that.
Graphic, like GRAPHIC was one of my names, and then I had Prodigy at one point. But then there was like an ego with that where I had a really bad phase where I thought I was like better than everyone when I was doing like the phase stuff. Unfortunately,
but it gets to your head. That's okay. So that's fun. We talked about kind of that beginning, but even though you were always kind of exposed to like bigger names or like bigger media and even working behind the scenes, you as a content creator have had like a you always have like a blow up, something that takes you to like from averaging like I don't know the 5K views from the skating channel to like I don't know, you said you had a 100K Minecraft channel later on. So like
Yeah.
how did that blow up happen when you got to like your peak, or where you thought you were at your peak as a content creator?
Um, I think the start of my peak would probably be in high school. So we can go into depth on this, and you're more than welcome
Sure.
to, because
No,
it's gonna be like
take
a
your time.
topic.
Take your
This,
time.
I had 3 siblings pass away.
Okay.
So out of my 4 siblings, my oldest went to prison. And then so my oldest brother, he went to prison when we were all young. And then my other brother, who's older than me, I got to meet him once. We didn't actually know him. My mom had to give him up for adoption when she was younger, because he's just, young kid,
You're
and
young,
already
yeah.
had one kid situation. So she had to give him up for adoption. And we ended up like rekindling or finding him when I was like 12 or something. Like hired a PI, ended up finding him. I got to meet him, and then like a week later, he died in a car crash. So
Wow.
yeah, very unfortunate. And that kind of like traumatized the family, and it may be like shitty to say or something, or like maybe there's something wrong with me from it, but the kind of topic and all that doesn't really phase me as much. And I didn't really hurt as much because I'd only met the person one time, so
Right.
like my
Yeah.
mind couldn't really grasp it. Like, hey, your brother just died. Instead, it was like, okay, I never met this or like did anything with this guy.
Yeah, it doesn't hit
There's
as
just a
hard.
potential. Yeah, he like could have been my brother. There's a lot to be there, but it never happened. Whereas
Right.
everyone else was like really bothered by it. Um, my older sister got a drug addiction and ended up going through the whole trial of it. Ended up going through rehab and got out. And instead of like staying clean, she hung out with the people who were still doing it, and
First
they
and
give you
sick,
meth.
yeah.
Yeah, and when you're on heroin, which was her drug of choice, they give you methadone to help you get off it. I think that's what it is. And you're only supposed to take a certain amount of it or something.
Yeah,
And her friends
microdosing,
poured,
yeah.
yeah, her friends poured it in her drink without telling her, so she ended up overdosing on it. But the problem was when she overdosed, she was in a drug house. So they left her. They left her in the bathroom where they found her, and they ran from the house. And then finally, someone called and told the police. So they came and found my sister, brought her back to life 3 or 4 times in the ambulance, and then she was on one of like the breathing machines or something for like a month, and then finally pronounced like officially brain dead. She was investigated as a murder before it was dropped as a cold case. A weird situation. I didn't follow up with it. I
Yeah.
ended up moving away. So that happened. So now I had 2 dead siblings, an older brother who was in prison and just not around, and then my little sister and me. Parents going through a divorce now at this point. um, so my dad and I leave because it's a very toxic and bad relationship. My mom's half, she's the problem. Obviously, if I'm saying that on record, then it's a real thing. Um, so I moved away with my dad to save myself, and it was probably the best decision for me. But at the same time, it was also one of those things where my dad had to work really hard, so he'd work like sometimes an hour away or something, and school was 5 minutes away from where I lived. I could walk to school, so I did. I didn't have my license or anything. Obviously, brother died in a car crash. It kind of traumatized me. I still don't have my license at 25. I just got my permit. I have a car. I have my test in like 2 weeks, so I'm excited for that,
Let's
but
go.
nervous. Um, so parents get divorced, do all this, and move into this duplex. My dad works an hour away, and I live 5 minutes from school. So I would go to my first class, and then the moment that first class was over, and I knew my dad was too far away and couldn't come back because he was at work, I just walked out of school and walked home. And I'd hop on my computer and I would play all day, every day, H1Z1, any BR game, whatever that was out, and I would just screw around, skip school, and do that every single day. Eventually, PUBG came out. I did the same routine, and PUBG started really taking off for me. And this is one of those things where it was like, if I can't pass school, though, I can't do any of the opportunities. Like I was getting offered to be moved to Sweden from here to go live in Sweden and play on a PUBG Pro team. There's a bunch of opportunities in store. The only way I did that was if I graduated high school. So I ended up having like this crazy meeting with the board. I tried to get put into special ed classes. I'm not gonna lie to you. The special education classes gave me a test, and I took the test, and I actually got labeled as a genius, which fucked up my entire plan. Um,
You tried too hard, man. You tried too hard.
Dude, I honestly was just like, I had to take the test legitimately, and they're like, you can't bullshit it. We'll know if you're faking or whatever. Like, you have to take it. And I was like, okay. So I was like, you know what? Let's see what I get on this anyways. And let's see if I actually need to be in these classes or whatever it is. Like, I don't feel stupid. I'm just, I went through some stuff, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's just the motivation isn't there. Like you just don't care
yeah, no,
for it.
like,
I
I
get
don't
it.
want to exist right now. Like, you think I want to sit in a classroom with people I hate? I was a fat, nerdy kid with no chin who had 2 dead siblings and hated the world officially. Like,
Yeah, basically.
don't want to be there. Yeah. So I take the test, I give it my all, and I literally get labeled as a genius. So then they put me in this different program instead, where I'm in 9th and 10th grade at the same time, 10th and 11th grade at the same time, 11th and 12th grade at the same time. And then I have night school and online classes on top of that. And the online classes are college level classes in order to bounce back for the credits that I lost by fucking around 9th and 10th grade when the 2 deaths happened, because I just didn't go to school for 2 years.
Yeah.
So instead of kicking me out of the thing, they're literally making me or helping me and letting me make up classes. And so instead, they'd be like, okay, we know you come to school and you want to leave. So they started placing security guards around the school to stop me from leaving from all the exits and stuff.
Okay.
And they're like, let's make a trade with you. If you don't want to be in a class, you come to guidance, you take your schoolwork with you, and you can just sit here in a corner with music and do whatever. So I'd just go to school. I'd go to my first class. I'd listen to a teacher talk for 10 minutes. And I'd be like, I fucking hate your voice. And I'd just be like, I'm going to guidance. Don't even ask. Just say I'm going to guidance. I grab my stuff and I'd walk out. I go right down there, throw my stuff in the corner, put my headphones in, and I would just work for like 5 periods, dude. No one asked where I was. No one cared. I wasn't getting the lesson taught to me. I was getting the work given to me that they needed, and I was understanding it. If I didn't understand it, then I knew to myself, okay, tomorrow I actually need to go to class, because it's like, this is something I don't know.
Right.
I'm labeled as genius. I know most of the shit you're teaching me. The reading stuff, I loved reading as a kid, so it's just like, it was just easy stuff for me. Because my grades bounced back, I actually ended up getting the Presidential Award for Outstanding Academic Achievement from Obama. I didn't walk to accept it because I was too cool for that shit. I also had my poetry taken from me by a teacher and published in my name without my permission, because my writing was also that good. So yeah, like, there's a lot of potential that was here that kind of got fucked up by trauma. But the only thing that ever actually gave me that passion or got me off my ass to bounce back from all that, and the only thing that still does that for me, is video games and content creation.
Right.
Which is funny because I consistently do it as my little side hustle, but always prioritize other people. And that's also a trauma of my trauma. So
Yeah.
something I'm working on and trying to do finally, and you'll hopefully see this time, is me focusing on me and doing my content first. But yes, because of all that happened, skipping school every day and going home and playing 12 to 16 hours a day, I was number 2 in the world for duos in PUBG. And I was recognized on the leaderboards because number 1 was Summit 1G. So you'd see Summit 1G, and then you'd see RLaw GG as number 2. And Summit was always in stream, or he died at me or some shit. He's like, is that RLaw? And you'd see my name on the board, and I'd have 23, 25 kills every single game with crazy stats and just rocking the lobbies. And then I was in Twitch Rivals, and I was wasn't having crazy views. I was this crazy menace on PUBG. That was when Banana Man and all these guys were getting recognition. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry,
No,
I just
you're
a
good.
weird pop up that froze my PC.
It froze for a second, but you're good now.
Okay, I had Banana Man, and when all those guys were getting this Shroud recognition, I was over here just randomly in these tournaments and stuff, also playing against these names. And my thing was just the fact that I was just this slayer, this menace that came out of nowhere, and it was just this 16-year-old or whatever that was just on these tournaments, in these whatever, playing. And I was recognized by Red Reserve, the B team of FaZe that got bought by a Swedish company. So they signed me as their captain. I played a few seasons, and then when I officially got 18, they entered me into a tournament as the captain of Red Reserve. I did the Twitch Rivals for one of the TwitchCon events, and then my co-captain screwed everything and got greedy and tried to make a B team. And he took the B team and he signed into a tournament under Red Reserve's name without me, and he placed horribly. So Red Reserve lost a lot of money on that, got rid of the entire PUBG program because of it, which had nothing to do with me. It nipped my career in the butt, and then I started substituting in tournaments for teams like Cloud9 and stuff like that here and there when they needed the bill. So that kind of killed it, and that's when FaZe Agony hit me up, or played with me and realized that like, holy shit, this dude's fucking hilarious. Like he has everything you want for humor. And it was me. Like I remember one of my first conversations with him, and this is a weird one, so you'll probably end up cutting it out of the YouTube video or whatever, but we talked about it on the stream before. One of the first conversations was somehow talking about like fucking a snake. Like someone had said in his Twitch chat that they saw like a bestiality video, and Kieran's thing has always been saying wildly outlandish stuff. So he was like,
It looks
"What?
hard."
Yeah, he's like, what? You never fucked an anaconda with your anaconda? You never just grabbed the snake and fucked it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I grabbed the snake and fucked it," or something. Like I jumped on it, bro, like an idiot.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
but not many other people were willing to cross that line and be that
Yeah.
back then or do that with him. So we just bounced off each other, and he does like a voice, and I did it too. And then doing that and all the content we ended up making, he was just getting a lot of views off of it, and I was still getting to enter tournaments. And it was just, you know, FaZe Agony got invited to a PUBG tournament. Oh, who was the Slayer he's gonna play with? Oh, dude, he's inviting RLaw, of course. So then it'd be like I was entering twice as many tournaments, making so many more opportunities, getting my name out there, making money from it, and it was all because of FaZe Agony. So I owe so much to that man for starting a lot of things for me. And then FaZe wanted like a trial with me, but they wouldn't pay me, and I can't make money when I'm in Canada. So Kieran worked out a deal with me where I would manage his stuff and help him with everything, and he would basically handle my rent, and all I needed to do is have my dad be willing to like help me pay food or save up money ahead of time for food. So my dad packed up a white van with all my stuff and drove like 8 hours to Canada with me to drop me off in another country with two strangers I met online that he had never met, which was FaZe Agony, Devin and Kieran, twin brothers.
Devin and Kieran.
And dropped me off in their house and then left me there. And I stayed in Canada, and I played the system perfectly. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're like, you can stay for 6 months, and then when the year restarts, you get your 6 months again. So like I'd be there for a year at a time. And then I would do that perfectly. I'd go there for a year and let the cycle return, and then I'd come back and do it a year. So I did like some town near Toronto. I'm not gonna say because I still live there. I did that for a year, came home for a little bit. And then
I think I know what it is, which is crazy. I lived in Canada. I don't know. I went to college for photography in Canada, so
okay.
I kind of I would assume like near. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I think I know where it is.
Well, it's like 2-3 hours, but the town we lived in for like the NBA house was like right on Toronto. That was in Scarborough. Yeah. But so when I went back to Canada, one of the times is actually when unfortunately my little sister finally decided that like life had been too much and was having like boyfriend drama. And it led to her ending her life. So while I was living in Canada, I woke up one morning and had my dad basically like, also, this is one of my like haunting things is my dad was texting me and calling me, and I'm like absolutely belligerently hungover. Like we partied like we were movie stars, dude.
That's crazy to hear in Canada, because from my experience, first of all, booze is dumb expensive in Ontario. Like it's so dumb.
Oh, we didn't pay for alcohol. You're not understanding. It was just having us in your club was like social media clout. Like we worked with
true.
So people just be like, oh, Instagram post, you guys can come in and be like, nice. So yeah, we partied like movie stars, and I was beyond gone, and my phone's getting blown up, and then finally I'm like, what the fuck do you want? And my dad just crying. He's like, your little sister killed herself. And I was just like, oh no. And I had like, I had a whole G Fuel like photo shoot, everything for Kieran that day that I was like running, and I just walked downstairs like straight up, still in my boxers, and knocked on Kieran's door, and I was like, I need the day off. And he's like, what do you mean? It's a huge day, we can't have the day off. And I was like, my little sister killed herself. And this dude like straight up threw the blanket off himself and sprinted over to me in his underwear still and just fucking threw me into a hug. And like I'll never forget that shit, because that's like, that was the moment that this man who had been like a brother to me online, you know, called him a bro, but like never really saw him as that, actually became like my brother. And he ended up like letting me do Thanksgiving with his family, included me in their holiday stuff, like really let me into all their stuff. And that's when like I think I left the pro play behind and started doing more of the management, because I wanted to do as much as I could for the man that gave me that opportunity and did all that for me. And then that's when FaZe hit us up, and they were like, we want to put you guys in a FaZe house. And it wasn't me. They wanted Kieran and Devin. They wanted Pamaj, Kieran, Devin, Nikon, Replays, JMOC, who is a pro player, and then one other person. And Kieran said, I want Rob. And they're like, Rob's not in phase. He's like, he's been doing phase videos. He's been helping my videos. He's been managing all these other people. He's like, we want Rob. And they're like, we don't want Rob. And Kieran and everyone else fought for me. And I spent like 2 months living on the couch in the living room in the phase house. Like there was this huge L couch and they wouldn't let me out of the bedroom. And Kieran was like, no, you're fucking staying there. I'd use Kieran's shower. I would stream downstairs on one of the gaming setups, and then I would just sleep on the couch. And everyone in the house was just totally fine with it. I helped everyone. I was Nikon's photographer and videographer. I followed him and his dog around. I went to Pamash's hometown with him and was his videographer. Like met his family, met his stepdad, his dogs. I saw his little apartment studio thing he just moved out of. Replay's mom came and cooked for the entire house, treated us like her own kids. It was awesome. Katie flew in and visited. I have videos of drawing dicks on the back of his head, like while he's sleeping, you know, that was probably the peak of my life and career. Right. And that was when like making content in the house, like streaming there, it wasn't like, you know, it was just the Phase Boys and RLaw. It was like I was the Kim Kardashian friend of Call of Duty. And that's how I always describe myself to people. I'm like, oh, you know how you look at Kim K, right? And you'll see like this gorgeous woman in her picture and you recognize her, but you don't know who she is. And you go to Courtney and Courtney's got the same gorgeous woman in the picture. And you're like, I see you everywhere. Yeah. Who are you? That's me. I know you, but I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to change that because I'm tired of the management stuff. I'm still going to probably do it because it's stable in income, but it's going to be a lot of more putting myself out there and doing my kind of content.
Yeah, or probably more reserved, like more like specific to someone, and not because if you were in that Face House Toronto, you were probably doing it for like everyone. Yeah. So the amount of time you had for your own stuff was pretty limited. Nothing. So like now just taking priority over your stuff, and then, you know, like if you can help someone, I think it's more of like hey, have something on the bag that can kind of support me while I kind of figure this out again. You know, figure this content thing out again.
And that's how Luminosity, or that's where I went wrong with Luminosity. Like you just said, I had too many other people I was taking care of. Luminosity was like a 28-person content roster that I handled by myself. Like I sat in brand deals, I sat in calls with Coca-Cola, Monster, all these crazy companies you'd only dream of. I sat in those calls. I woke up, I had to take those calls. And then on top of that, I was helping out with an NFL game show, working with NFL celebrities, you know, trying to make my own content survive. And it was like, when I first got the job, I was one of the biggest names in Call of Duty. And to me, it was like joining Luminosity and Luminosity paying me a few $1,000s a month. That's 100% stable. And holy shit, maybe they'll have like better opportunities. If I could do it again, I wouldn't. I would 100% not join Luminosity. It didn't boost my views. If anything, they gave me a false audience that only wanted to join LG. So like when Call of Duty was slacking, or I started slacking, rather than realizing I was slacking and needed to get on my content, they were already gone. And that was one of those things where it was just like the original audience I built that was there for me probably hated that. Like, oh, I have to stop my stream because Luminosity needs to call me right now, or I have to go handle this. Like Muso he's in Australia, so there are so many times where I had to randomly just end my stream on a banger because Muselk had a call because he's like 14 hours ahead or something, and just like that's unrealistic. I'm not getting paid overtime. I have a set salary, and then I was just sacrificing my stream. And it's funny because when I go back and look at the math, my stream was making me like I can't lie, my stream had points where it was making me like 6K a month, and that's just off my stream. That's not, I didn't have a YouTube because I didn't have time to do YouTube. I didn't have a TikTok that was popping or had the creator program. It was just 50K on TikTok, and like occasionally I post something and I get like 1 million or 8 million or 7 million views on it or something, and then it's just like I wouldn't post again for a week because, you know, I'm stuck doing other people's stuff. That's where I screwed up. I'm right now I'm editing stuff to get ahead of it. I'm working or trying to work with one group and one group only, and then it'd just be me. Like I'm not taking on crazy clientele. I'm looking like for either group to represent or like 3 to 4 people and myself to try and like bounce back and do it, because I have all those connections. I have the LinkedIn, I have the references, I have literally
it's tools to your advantage.
8 years of professional experience as talent management that I can now forever use. Because even if I, you know, get my views back up, I don't need anyone to represent me. I don't need someone to sit there and be like,
you got your stuff.
RLaw wants this. I'm gonna be like, what's up, man? Remember working with me 3 years ago or 2 years ago on that multi-million-dollar deal we did? Cool. Let's talk. Like,
That's cool. That
yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty cool. And I see you doing it, man, because we were
Yeah,
playing CS for the past 2 days as well, and you're entertaining as fuck, man. Like, listen, you know what when we were playing CS last night with your group, you know what it reminded me of? I don't know if you were that into YouTube, if, like when PUBG was popping, and I think CS was also kind of like more mainstream. Like that was like 2017, 2018. This guy Fitz from New Zealand.
I know Fitz,
No
but Fitz
way.
is also like the content that I love. Fitz is.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
have
It's
met
like
all these
pure
people
fucking
partying.
comedy. Like,
If you go look back at like KYR Speedy videos, you'll see me in like Cruniverse stuff. Like I very much aspire and inspired by these people. These are that's the kind of content I like. KYR Speedy with Deluxe 20, Deluxe, all those guys, G18, Sidearms for Reason, like the Jehovah's Witness, those original
yeah.
guys who did it first, and then Fitz and his group who pushed the envelope. Like Fitz
Oh,
is
Fitz
hilarious, but Fitz
pushed
can't
it.
exist nowadays.
Yeah, yeah,
Fitz
he
can't.
can't. That's
But
why he
like
doesn't.
to me, I think he should be able to. Like I know
Mhm.
some of the stuff he said is like, okay, you know, you gotta dial it back a little bit, but like I don't think he needs to dial it back to the point where he can't even speak anymore. But the world
Yeah.
decided that that's the way it
Well,
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
he kind of fucked up in other ways,
yeah.
but for
Some of the
example, like
stuff.
Swagger Souls, for example, and like most of the like Swagger Souls is still doing his thing and it's still posting consistently and it's
That's
still
fun too.
streaming,
I love Spider. Yeah,
which was a big part of that group as well. So that's what it reminded me. It's just like a group of friends having fun, but also kind of like being able to have gameplay to show, and it's an excellent mix because it comes naturally. Like I was a new guy, but I still cracking jokes and talking to each other the other way, and it was so comfortable that I think that's also engaging for the audience to look at, and it's like, oh my god, I also feel a part of this of this group. So that's
yeah.
really cool, and I think you got it, and as I said in our DMs initially, I believe that I believe that it'll take no time, man. Before the end of the year, you're already back on your feet. So, uh,
That
it's
group is great.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to hear the story because it's very in depth. Like a lot of people come here and the story's kind of it's not the same for everyone, but it's very like similar
Mhm.
and I like the fact that you're able to show yourself as someone more vulnerable in here because you've been through a lot of shit, man. Like I can't lie,
Yeah,
it's not easy to get back on your feet. But I am, and I was talking. You know what? Going back to Dre, which is the last episode. Dre really liked to talk about like mental health.
mhm.
He actually has a podcast that he's starting in regards to mental health, and Dre and I were talking about like, hey man, you know what's really important about bouncing back is the fact that you need to acknowledge that you're going through some shit and being able to pick yourself back up, put yourself back on your feet, and moving forward is very important, and it's very healthy as well because it gives you more to look at. Like you said,
Yeah,
when your first two siblings passed while you were in high school, the school gave you the opportunity to make up for those 2 years, and you saw that you had potential, and they gave you the tools to unleash that potential, and you got your award at the end of the year, and you made it to like start competing, like allowed you to get that goal, which was ultimately your goal. and
yeah,
and I think it's the same with this. Like, hey, I've been through a lot of shit, maybe my mind's not in the right place, and I've lost the motivation. I feel unmotivated, which is kind of the whole point. And I love that this kind of fits into that. It's like, hey man, you've picked yourself back up plenty of times, and I can assure you can do it again. You're sure you can do it again. So like,
definitely.
um, not giving up, man. Your rough weeks are gonna happen for everyone, and this is me talking to the audience. Um, I'm here, and I didn't have a guest for the past 2 weeks. This is actually I was supposed to end the season for this podcast 2 weeks ago, and I actually didn't have a guest because everybody fucking said no or ghosted me, and I'm actually mad at a couple of people that I thought were friends. But they kind of ghosted me in the end, and it's like, okay, I'm kind of disappointed, but I also understand that everybody's kind of on their own heads doing this. So
Mm.
I'm very glad that I can see this kind of. I'm looking for the word in English. I can see this contrast into like someone that just is able to be genuine but still put on that game face after all they've been through. Because then again, bro, you're 25. I'm 2 years older than you, and I don't have half the experience that you do. Like, you've done everything. Like, bro, you're probably pushing 40 emotionally. Like, it's insane. It's actually
I have the
insane.
hairline for that to prove it.
It's
So over the head.
insane. But no, it's pretty cool. I'm actually trying to get back on track with like the topics that I have here.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Because I'm trying to see what's like important to. I still don't want to, even though this episode is special, I still don't want to go too long because I understand podcasts are not everybody's like cup of tea. So I try to keep it around an hour. We're at 45 minutes now. However, I want to know, man, what is like, do you already have, you said you were editing stuff, that you were like kind of having a backlog of things to upload, so you have like more leeway down the line to do other things and not have to worry about like, I got content I gotta edit right now, so I gotta post tomorrow, and have that stress on you. But what's gonna be your approach for this time around? Like, now that you want to focus on yourself, like, what's that formula, man? Like, what is you want to try to do? Like, I don't, everything you're comfortable talking about, I don't want you to give out the secret recipe out for everyone, but like, hey, like, I want to do funny content. I want to focus on
pushing the
a
envelope.
specific game. Okay.
I'm gonna walk the line of potential cancellation.
Okay.
We're gonna kind of go towards that Fitz humor, which is why I laughed when you said it.
Yeah.
Like, I have a character which some people aren't gonna like, and I already have some people who hate it. And like, I don't directly go out and say it, but there's a TikToker who's getting millions of views right now because a lot of people like this humor. They're just too scared to speak up about it. But like, I have an Officer Jimmy, and I wear a police officer, and I go on Omegle, and I talk to people like this, and I hold up a water gun, and I'm like, you're under arrest, and I talk to people like that, like, you're already laughing, and
It's funny. It's funny.
The views go great until like someone on the line says to them, "Are you the R word?" And it's just like, okay, now you like
you took it too far, yeah.
Took it too far, then I'll lose views for it. So it's like, I don't want to go to that approach, but I want to work on that character because that's a funny character, like Officer Jimmy got something wrong. Bro, if anything, Officer Jimmy's backstory is Officer Jimmy got hit by a car in a traffic stop, and now he just talks like that. I don't know. I'll think of something. But then I also have like a slutty nurse costume that I wear. You have a 6'5" hairy guy wearing a costume like that on stream and talking to strangers on Omegle. It's funny. So I'm doing wild stuff on Omegle, but my biggest thing that I haven't done that I am doing finally is studying the algorithms. I'm so good at sitting in a meeting and selling stuff, but I'm not good at like figuring out this is what's going to get views. I am to the point where like I can come up with crazy ideas. I have helped other people get millions of views. I kind of create the base idea. I'm not the one doing the title or whatever. I'm just like, okay, this content's gonna sell. I don't know how to make it, work in the SEO for the YouTube title or the thumbnail. That's where I slack on, and that's what like I'm learning to do right now. I'm like, I have the genius idea,
and it's practice.
How do I? Yeah,
it's posting and seeing what works. Like, this is the same experiment with this, and I've learned a lot in the kind of month and a half that I've been doing it. It's 6 episodes. Every episode has been better than the other in some way or another. Almost every episode has kind of doubled in views in YouTube. And the views have been consistent on Apple Music and Spotify. They're so low numbers, but then again, I have never, like, on this channel, I've had this channel since 2007 that I'm posting on, and I deleted all my old stuff. I had like I had started with like at one point I had like 200 and something subscribers, and then over like 10 years of it being inactive, it dropped to like 100. But I'm almost at 200 subscribers now, and I've been doing it for a month. It's a podcast that's not everybody's cup of tea, not everyone's gonna jump into an unknown.
There's always an audience.
Yeah, but no one's gonna, like, realistically, I'm not too. It's like, okay, I could be doing a lot more views, but then again, sitting through hour-long videos is not realistic. So I'm happy with like 200 views on a podcast. It honestly feels great for someone that's new. And I'm kind of working on like, hey, now that I'm ending the season, I'm gonna take like a month, sit down, kind of collect the people that I want for the next season, and work on short form, because I think that's the most important part of like content creating right now. And see how I've been throwing little bits and pieces of every podcast out on TikTok to kind of see how they do, and I've kind of seen like, okay, this type of information kind of works better than the other, like And it's a learning process, and that goes to the audience as well. It's like experimenting on what works or not. The same happens for my photography. Like Instagram, when I started doing photography, Instagram was still timeline based, like chronological based. You would post on Instagram early in the morning. Everybody going to school or everybody going to their work like job sits the first hour of whatever they're doing. They're on their phone or while they're commuting or whatever. So that's where you get the most eyes. And by the time that initial engagement gets in, it's already on people's timelines down in when they get out of work or when they're in lunch or whatever. And then they change the algorithm to like the recommended base, which is what is now. Or kind of, I don't actually remember what it worked. And then they changed it for like video forward, and us photographers got fucked, and I got no fucking likes on my shit because if I don't make a reel, it just no one sees your shit. But it's still kind of figuring out, and I know I can make Instagram work, but for example TikTok, I have no clue. So it's posting, seeing what does best, kind of stick to that formula.
I'm studying all of that right now. That's
Yeah.
people are like, people don't understand. They just think, oh, you're a content creator, or like, oh, you're a streamer, and they think most of it's like some lazy, like, oh, I just want to get
No,
rich quick or
there's a
something.
lot
And
of work. Like there's a lot of studying too, because like it might seem dumb, but sometimes
you're
sometimes
constantly studying. It's a daily thing. It's not just, like you said, the algorithm changes. We don't get the constant. It's every 3 months it's something new I have to relearn, and I now have to change my entire style of content to map this. It's like, okay, in the
exactly.
beginning, 45-second long TikToks of Call of Duty, and I was getting 50,000 plus views every single time. I was the hit. You'd come watch me for Call of Duty. You'd be in a Call of Duty lobby, you'd be like, RLaw, people start screaming or crying. One of my best videos is a girl crying for running into me because I was that big of a deal in COD. Then COD switches up, and the next day it's like, oh, I've got 500 views. What did they change? Oh, now it's a 15-second TikTok, and I need to have the action that quickly. And what do I need to do? Some high intense edit of my kills, and then ha 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 ha. No one actually wants to hear the joke. They just want to hear the reaction. And it's like, okay.
It's what I was gonna say too. In order to produce content, you have to consume content, and it's part of the job. Like taking out an hour to scroll through TikTok, but like mindfully, like paying attention to like this is popping. Okay, this is this is what I gotta do.
In the room. I will literally
that's
be like,
that's something.
I stopped on this one. Why did I stop? What caught my attention? Loud noise in the beginning, so I paused for a second. Pretty girl, blah blah. Or the captions, like, I'm not gonna lie to you. One of my biggest series was the fact that like I'm very flirty. I'm good with my words. You can talk to me, so it's very easy for me to talk to women. And it just became this thing where like I'm not actually pursuing these women off stream or something, or making it this uncomfortable thing. They're like, oh, it's just for content. He's very
It's like
flirty
the eating thing.
Yeah, and then we're just best friends and we're chill afterwards. So be like, I made it. Girls reacting to my snipes, and like girls be like, "Oh, that shot was hot," or something. If I hit a trick shot, I'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm wet," and like see.
And that was very meta on TikTok for a while.
Yeah, it was. Or like I'd have a girl be like, "If you clutch this, I'll send you a nude," and be like, "Word," and I'd go get a fucking 6-man ace. I would try my absolute ass off, and not only did my chat get to see me pop off, but now they're like, is he actually gonna get it? And then, you know what?
Yeah.
Sometimes I did. Sometimes I really did get to see some ass for some 6-mans, and that shit made gaming all the more better. Okay, you know how great it is. Everyone's like, "Oh, you don't get later. You're a virgin. You play video games." And I'm over here like getting ass sent to me just because I'm a content creator or exist, or like actually playing 6-mans with other content creators, and I think it's just a joke. And I'm like, they're like, "No, clutch this for a titty pic," and then next thing I know, it's just like. Literally the best and worst part is I'll be streaming. I'll be straight up on stream, and the girl will be like, check your snap. So then you open your phone like this with stream right there, and you open your phone, you get a picture, and you're like, gotta play off your reaction like that shit didn't just happen in front of 500 people. And you're like, what's Chad doing today, huh? And then she's over there giggling with her stream or whatever's happening, and then it's just like,
it's funny, man. Like it's part of this kind of
it is
organic content, as well. Like it's just having personalities to match each other, or trying to find a way to match energies with whoever is on the other side of the monitor. And people love to see that. I think that's very. I would love to have. I don't know anyone in the scene that's a psychologist, but I would love to know if there's a connection between like organic content in which like audiences relate to the energy that of course there is, but to the energy that the person they're watching is providing. So I would really like to like explore that more in depth. but I think it's genius if it feels natural.
Yeah.
And as long as it feels natural, people see it. And then again, I like that. I could never do that. I'm too fucking shy to do that. But that kind of like the Riz Up content is kind of blowing up. Like, I kind of started doing this again because I started watching Nikari. And Nikari is
I
just
won
like,
her e-date.
uh, you actually did.
I won her e-date.
That's what I think. That's when we met actually. That is the day we met.
Proof of my Riz.
And Nikari just thrives off of that type of content, you know, because it comes natural to her, but she's always
She's funny. I love
and
talking to her.
yeah, and she's also found a group of people like now that she's hanging out with like these guys from the UK, for example, and they do so much fun content together. She just released like a video. She was there for 2 weeks for World Series, and she stayed over and did a lot of that type of content, and it's fucking hilarious. And at the end of the day, it's because she found friends that she's comfortable with that kind of match that energy. So I think that's really important towards that. Yeah.
I was like my biggest funk like when I hit rock bottom a few months ago, and it was something I realized is like I put all my eggs in one basket, and I had just this one group, and none of them are content creators. They were kind of just all like, I don't want to say my yes men, but like my go-to source of content, because it's like these guys play off me so well, but none of them want to be content creators. You know, some of them are in school or doing their own thing, and they're gonna have to like grow up at some point. And my mind didn't click on that, where it's like, yo, I get on every day and I have these 5 other people play with me every day that everyone loves and thinks it's funny. What happens when Drew goes and gets a real job? Like Drew just did. Drew's not around anymore all day, so it's like shit. Okay, I lost one person in the group. Another person started dating a girl, ran off and plays with her every day. He's no longer around. The other person had to start manning up and focusing on school because his grades are slipping. Bam. The other one also working. My 5-man just turned into a 2-man.
Yeah.
And I now have nothing for content. So it's like, okay, I need to make more friends, rebuild a group. And it's just like, if I built it around my humor and just my character, I wouldn't be dependent on that. So I can just go everywhere. So I'm the nomad, and I'm trying to go back to being that nomad. It's what I originally was good at.
Not only that is also the fact that being self-sufficient, like being funny enough to be self-sufficient and having fun with randoms, you know, like it's fucking hilarious. Or you know, if you get to play with another 5-man of other creators and being able to pop off there, it's always hilarious. And but I think it's also very important to find like your tribe, you know, like to find the people that understand where you can shine. But
you met 2 of mine last night.
Yeah, but not only that, and not only that, it's also like if you're the only one that's content creating, you're always the one that's coming up with ideas, so you're gonna burn out eventually. And if you burn out eventually, it's like if you have other content creators in the group that are always playing with you, you can also bounce off of their content or their ideas that also provide you content. And it's kind of like a feedback thing, like, you know, like I give, it's a 50-50 type thing. And I think that's also very important, because as long as you're content focused, everybody's going to produce content, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, we're actually at the hour mark. I don't want to cut you off because I think you have a lot of insight.
It's your podcast, man. We'll do whatever you want.
I do want to go towards like the final things here. I'm gonna be looking at your career, like, you know, thankfully I think we've kind of hit it off in the right food for the past 2 weeks. I'm excited that you're playing CS2 because I've been trying to get back into CS for the longest time because I can't stand Valorant, and I love that I had, like, at least we've gotten to play, and I hope we play more.
Definitely gonna. Yeah.
But I'm looking forward for more of that content. I'm looking forward for that Omega content. That you've
I made a channel for that. Yeah, I got like 62 subs and already like 30,000 views. It's awesome.
Nice. So I wanna you know, be aware of that. What are some tips and tricks that you know today that a smaller content creator could use to boost their potential that you might give them right now?
The attention span of society is horrible. Okay. So short form is everything.
Get to the point. Get to the point.
Yeah. And consistency, everyone preaches consistency. Yes and no. Consistently streaming to one person a day isn't going to do shit for you. It's not going to do anything. There's no reach on any of these streaming platforms. There never will be reach on these streaming platforms. If you want your stream to succeed, you need to learn how to edit and make your content succeed everywhere else. And you do need to invest in yourself. Like, I understand we all start from nothing or don't have the money for this, but I have $30,000 spent in this room alone. And that's not saying that as a flex. That's saying that,
No,
like,
it's
for months that my stream made me income, every penny went to making this room pretty for stream. I reinvested in myself. You don't need to spend that money on a setup. As you can see, I have a lot of obnoxious stuff in this room. But buying yourself a laptop you can edit on and just putting in the basics of editing. You don't need a crazy editor. You can edit a TikTok in 1 to 2 hours at a decent rate. It doesn't need to be god tier. Sometimes the shittier the edit, the better the views for some reason. That's
and,
just how society's attention is.
yeah, the
But
more you edit and you find your
edit.
groove, the 2 hours is gonna turn into 15 minutes. If you're making a
Mhm.
15-second video, in 15 minutes, it's out of the water. Like, so
There's a Ludwig video that teaches you about streaming that's like 50 minutes long, and it's like, watch this before you stream. I would say watch it. And
I
the
like
one
that.
thing that I did, I watched and I took notes while I watched it. And one of Ludwig's things, and this is what I also preach and firmly believe in, is I have a lot of stuff that streamers have taken. The Zoom kiss cam, I created that. Spitting at the camera, it's something I do. I have actual animations for it. People have stolen it. The Call of Duty community for months while I was on top just copied all my ideas. A lot of them credited me for it though. I love them for that. I'm fine with that. You can't sit here and be mad as a content creator if
No,
someone else
no.
takes your idea. You're in the wrong field if that's the case. But it's also okay to take other people's ideas, in my opinion. What you need to do though is
Give them your twist.
take and twist.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have to put a twist on it. You can't just take it completely. Because Ludwig did a video where it's like letting my viewers spend 10K. No. Yeah, you can take that video and put it to your budget, like letting my viewers spend $500 or something. But then you have to put a twist on it while I'm blindfolded, or
Yeah.
through a Discord call, or by ChatGPT and my viewers, flip a coin and pick my day. I don't something. You put a twist on it. You take that initial idea and you make this far-fetched twist that is now so original. It's your own idea, and that is what it means to be a content creator.
Yep. That is that. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, even though you take something and make it fun, for your audience that know you and know
Yeah.
what you are, right? Or kind of expresses who you are, which is something I'm kind of. It's cool that you brought it up, because now that I'm in the off season, I want to focus more on YouTube as well. I want to focus more on like doing like Friday night kind of like game show type things, and I've been watching a lot of Smosh recently. Now that they bought it back, Anthony and Ian. I don't know if you're into that, but Anthony and Ian bought Smosh back from their previous owners, which were Red and Link from Good Mythical Morning, and they've kind of sidelined the content, so Smosh is back to being like skits like it was back in the day, but they have the Smosh bit with all like the new people they have, and they do these game shows, and I think these do very well on stream. Like I've seen some people interested in getting these game shows on, so maybe like, hey, I looked at this idea. It says like looking back through whatever creators or whatever guests tweet history and going back to like 2013 and grabbing a tweet and no context, putting it on screen and putting them on blast for it, and making them like guess who tweeted that or when did they tweet that. So I think that would be funnier. Like look for old Instagram pictures that they have under archive or something. Like that'd be really fun. But also making it funny towards the people that are gonna be watching. So taking ideas is not bad, but then again, as long as it feels like your idea, like as it feels like it comes from you, it's very important. And I say this as a consumer, because then again, I'm also very new to this, and I made this podcast to spitting. So I just realized I forgot I was streaming. I have chat on, so people are asking about spitting, but that's crazy. Show us a spit real quick. They want to see a spit. Oh, you don't have it set up. You probably don't have it set up.
No, I can't. I can't do.
So
Zoom with this,
yeah, no. Let me link RLaw on the. You're probably gonna see it tonight.
Yeah, I basically just.
Oh, I dig my.
I have
stuff.
a keybind that zooms my camera in, and I just go. And yeah, sometimes I actually spit. Depends on how dry the mouth is.
There you go. Yeah, it's very fun. It's very fun, and people request it a lot, actually.
All the time. So much.
But yeah, so those are 3 tips towards new people. Take your own. Consistency is important, but being able to understand
where consistency is appropriate.
Yeah. I know RLaw, he nasty. That's crazy. All right.
That's my boy Mania.
Oh.
Talk up with me.
And then those are the 3 tips, and then I have 10 questions. I did this with Dre, and I think it's pretty fun. So I have a couple questions. They have nothing to do with content creation, so I'm curious about these. Then again, this is first thing that comes to your mind, no context, just just go. It's like a speed round. First thing you think of when you wake up?
Pizza.
Pizza? I like it, bro. I could eat
It just came to my
pizza.
mind right away,
I
bro.
could
I want
eat
pizza right
pizza.
now.
I can eat pizza for the rest of my life every single day. I don't give a shit.
I woke
Um,
up, you're like right before your DM, you're like, you still ready for 3? And I'm like, yeah, I haven't ate. I'm ready for pizza. I'm gonna go pizza. I'm thinking about pizza.
Coke or Pepsi?
Diet Coke.
Diet Coke?
Diet Coke.
Damn.
Only Diet Coke. I
Damn.
hate Coca-Cola, and Pepsi can lick my balls.
I like Coke Zero personally. I'm a Coke Zero guy. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea? What's your favorite?
Yeah.
Your go-to?
I grew up on this weird Russian tea. I
Okay.
love it. I love it. It was just like this weird Russian black tea, and my grandma made it for me before she passed, and I was just a sucker for it. But I love green teas, but that specific like black
Black
Russian
tea?
tea was just
Okay.
it was
Try
unreal.
to find this. You can send it to me. I'd like to try it.
Okay.
I'm a big coffee guy because the country that I live in, Panama sells the most expensive, like naturally produced coffee in the world, which is geisha coffee. A cup of geisha coffee could run you like $125. It's absurd. So yeah,
Coffee kicks my ass like Mike Tyson.
I could drink 3 cups of coffee and go to bed, no problem.
I'm not talking like that. Like caffeine wise doesn't touch me. I used to have a caffeine problem. So like
Yeah.
I'm talking like coffee makes my stomach like feel
Yeah.
like Mike Tyson was just like to
No, yeah, understand, 100%. Understand. So, shoot. So you don't really drink coffee, so I can't ask for this one.
that's good. I
Um,
still drink it. I just like
okay,
I gotta
but
decide
what's
how
your
much I
what's
hate my
your
husband.
what's your coffee order? Are you very particular about it?
Yeah, so I'm like the coffee that I can have is usually a hazelnut. I'll get like a hazelnut with
Okay.
cream and sugar, but then lately I've been adding like it's like a blueberry shot to it or something.
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
liking that. Yeah, hazelnut blueberry.
Interesting. Who is who is the person that you look the most up to, or who is your like number one motivation? And yourself counts actually.
No, so I'm not the type that like grew up with like an idol or something. I always respect my father because he
Right.
provided and did for me that like no other person will. But at the same time, like he's my daddy, kind of had to.
Right.
The person who motivates me the most right now is not. I don't want to say like anyone's a hero. Like no one's a hero for me.
No, but
But
just
the person
you
who
can look up
motivates
to,
me is like one of my friends. His name's Bennett, or like he used to be LG Melts. You might know him as Melt Hard. He's got like 1 million or something subscribers, but they created a new group channel called Family Friendly. That's the group that I want to work with. But
Yeah.
like he got me in my interview for LG originally. He's done crazy things for me. He's 22 years old,
Oh
popping
my
as a content
god.
creator, and one of the funniest kids you will ever meet. Like his whole group is like Berserk, who's got like 2 to 3 million, Sizzle, who's got like 2 to 3 million, or like 1 million, I think. Each one of them is like 1 million subscriber plus, and they all abandoned their original channels to like make this group together, and they're just called Family Friendly. But they if you should watch them, like they like when I think of like the
Absolutely will.
content I want to do, it's that. Like
Absolutely.
they inspire me the most. But that kid specifically is like the one that motivates me right now. He put a fire under my ass. He's probably responsible for like the get go that I'm about to have right now.
That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. When okay, so complete the sentence. When I don't feel like myself, I always turn to. Listen, listen.
I'm gonna say a blunt.
That's okay. No, that's great. That was Dre's response after he said dick, pussy, and ass. But
I was thinking originally I was like, oh, go busting a nut real quick or smoking one real. I was like,
it's valid. It's valid, man. It's valid. That's understandable. Understandable. Then again, this is not marketed to kids, so if it's legal in your state,
it's legal.
if it's legal where you live and you enjoy it and you do it safely, I lived in Ontario, man. When I was very stressed from school, I had a roommate that would knock on my door every day at 3 p.m. and he's like, "Yo, want to smoke?" And then I had to turn him down every single day. But sometimes, it was necessary. So I understand it.
Yeah,
if you're into that,
and everything, so it's like it helps with my stress. It's like I either have a
100%.
pill that takes away my emotion, or I can smoke really quickly, and I'm
Yeah.
funnier in my opinion.
No,
I'm
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So no hate from me. It's completely valid. What is an opinion that you would die on a hill? Like what is like I will die on this hill opinion?
Shit, I don't know, man. I'll die on this hill. I usually have good ones for that, but like I can't think of anything right now. The go-to for some reason I'm thinking of is like pineapple does not belong on pizza, but that's like just such a stereotypical one that I
Yeah.
really don't care about that. Do you have any previous examples so I can like might maybe like get
Well,
an
I
idea of
started
what?
I started this with Dre. I actually don't remember at the top of my head what he said, but for example, for me, it's like Advanced Warfare is a top three Call of Duty. That is my go-to. Like I don't care what anyone says. It is the Call of Duty I've enjoyed the most watching. 100%.
I'm gonna take you to extreme. I think we should have population control systems.
You know what? I want to say I agree, but I think nature does that on its own, and
I
it's
don't think nature does it efficiently enough. I think we fuck
officially
like
enough.
rabbits,
I
and
yeah.
I think we're going at a crazy rate right now. And I just don't think even if we're not at a crazy rate than we were, I don't think we're accounting for how many resources the world actually has available to us.
I
And the
agree.
fact that we're at the point where we're talking about discovering other planets, the only reason we would ever really want to leave our planet is
It's
if
because
there
this
wasn't
one's not
enough
enough.
or yeah, like if the population, I'm sorry, just straight up was cut in half
Thanos
and
was right.
we
Thanos was
had the
right.
same world, bro. No, seriously, think about it. If we had the same world, the same resources, half the population, there'd probably be a lot more happiness.
I agree. I agree. I think I think just like there is gun control and just like you need to be old enough to buy alcohol, you should also have some limitations towards having kids because some people be like sex education is so important and some people just do not care for it.
Bro, I
Um
don't care how rich Nick Cannon is. Why the fuck does he need all them kids? Like, come
oh
on,
my,
bro.
I totally forgot about that and then you
Two,
just brought
two
it to
per
my mind. It's
household.
like
Like, we need like some shit like that. Like two per household
two
laws.
per
Like you
yeah.
can, and even then, maybe not even, dude. Maybe one per household. Because realistically, you think about it, either two per household to keep the population. You're doubling the population by doing so. If you keep it at one per household, the population kind of stays at a neutral balance.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the last two. Last meal.
Last meal.
Last meal.
Um, I'm a burger guy,
Yeah,
dude.
burger guy.
Dude, it's got to be a cheeseburger. Everyone always asks, like, oh, maybe this is the hill I'll die on. I would give up blowjobs for cheese. I would. I think a cheeseburger. I can't have a regular burger. I'm not here for it. But when I think of like food or like my last meal, it has to be like a perfectly medium rare, juicy cheeseburger with a little bit of bacon on top. But the cheese is crucial,
You're
and for
East Coast,
that,
right?
I would give up head. Yeah,
So what's your place? What's your go-to place
go-to place out here.
for
I've
burgers
seen
for a cheeseburger?
there's a place here that's a local place.
Okay.
It's called Harry's. I have never in all of my life, even with traveling to different countries, traveling across the United States, I've been to all 50 states. I have never, ever, ever had a burger better than this place. They're these tiny little slider burgers, but thanks to the economy, they just fuck your wallet. But oh, they're
But they're
so
good.
good, Rob. They're so good.
All right. And last one. So this is the season finale. So there's not like a next episode coming yet. I need to announce when it's coming back. I think it would be towards the beginning of November. But this is where you provide peak content for me. Who do you want to see here next? Name someone so I can tag him.
Here
Yeah,
next.
I'm gonna tell him Rob snitched. They want you in here.
You got any people you might want to see next?
I actually have someone in mind. I already reached out to them. They have a manager.
Okay.
It's a pain in the ass, but they're interested. They just need more. When I invited them originally, they weren't available. So
Uh,
I actually don't. I actually need to like sit back down and like think about like, okay, start studying. I need to sit down and watch people and see and be like, okay, maybe I want this guy. I have the
And I
opportunity to reach out to like one of the biggest anime YouTubers. Because I'm not friends with him, but I play Among Us with him a lot, and I just been too shy to reach out, but I think he might be down to, which is Afro Senju. And then I also reached out to Nixta, and I talked to his manager. He's interested. The manager said he's interested, but the timing didn't work at the time. So, but no, anyone you know that like maybe you're homies with that you think might be interested in coming, like just name it.
I'm trying to think of which of my friends would actually be down for a podcast, and I'm not sure, but I have names who I personally, the family friendly guys, any of those 4 or 5 guys, or Crispy Concords. I like those guys, and I think that hearing their story would be cool.
Okay, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I have a couple of COD streamers. I want to branch out of COD. Most of this season was COD streamers, so I want to branch out of that. All right, I'll give them watch. I definitely wrote down their channel because it's interesting if they have that kind of like Fits type content, like a group of friends just kind of being dumbasses with each other.
More ironic, family friendly,
and they're totally family friendly. Like, I'll definitely give them watch.
They infiltrate Zoom classes, or like they threw on their own Zoom class and like made it super sexist intentionally, and it was just like teaching women all the wrong stuff about women.
That is
like
they're
hilarious.
That is so fucked up. All right, I'll give them watch. All right, Rob. Thank you for the past 1 hour and 16 minutes we've been on here. I think we are reaching our end. We've known about your story. You were very open, which I'm very thankful for, letting me and letting my audience, kind of experience a little bit of behind the scenes of who Rob is. Anything you want to say before we say our goodbyes? Anything you want to end this with?
No, thanks for having me, and I can't wait to take shit over again.
All right, well, I'll definitely be there. Bugging your ass about playing CS:GO.
Definitely will play.
But anything, then again, as I said before, anything I could do to help, always here. I'm very happy to hear. Like, I'm always happy for people when they're motivated, because I think that energy kind of transmits. Like, if you surround yourself with people that push forward, you're gonna probably be motivated to push forward. So I'm excited for you, man. I'm happy that you're in this mood. I know what it feels like to be at the bottom of the barrel. And despite everything, you're still here pushing, you're still here smiling, still here laughing, and I appreciate that. I love to see that, and I'll definitely be on the lookout for whatever you put out next. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for everybody that's on chat that watched the live version of this episode. Then again, this will be on YouTube probably tomorrow. It's gonna be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you want to go ahead and subscribe to those and listen to the parts that you didn't see, they'll be there. I'll definitely be plugging all of Rob's content on the description of everything, and go ahead, give him a follow, tell him you heard him on the podcast, and push his ass to post the next video whenever he slacks for a week or two. So thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you, Rob, for being my guest today, and this has been the Unmotivated Podcast. I'll catch you guys in early November. Peace.